All right, let's jump right in. Picture this: ice forming inside a running aircraft engine. Sounds like a problem for the dead of winter, right? Maybe somewhere in the Arctic? Well, what if I told you this danger is actually most likely to pop up on a perfectly nice, even warm day? And yeah, that quote from the Pilot Institute just nails it. It's one of the most backward, counterintuitive risks in all of aviation. We're not talking about a blizzard here. This is a problem that can sneak up on you when you least expect it, on a gorgeous day that just seems perfect for flying. Now, let's be super clear. This isn't the ice you see on the wings of a plane. No, this is way more sneaky. We're talking about ice forming deep down inside the engine itself, slowly and silently choking the life out of it. So, how on earth is that even possible? Well, the scene of the crime, if you will, is a little part called the carburetor. Now, if you're not a gearhead, you might be wondering, what exactly is a carburetor? What does this thing actually do? Let's break it down. You can basically think of the carburetor as the engine's lungs. Its whole job is to breathe in air, mix it with just the right amount of fuel vapor, and then send that perfect, explosive little cocktail into the cylinders to make power. It's actually a really elegant, simple system. And the way it works is pretty cool. It's all based on some basic physics. See, the carburetor has this narrow throat. It's called a Venturi. When air gets squeezed through that bottleneck, it has to speed up. And when it speeds up, its pressure drops. A lot. It's that sudden low pressure zone that literally sucks the fuel out and instantly turns it into a mist for the engine. Super clever piece of engineering, really. But here's the catch. That brilliant design has a couple of weak spots. Ice can form right there in the main Venturi tube, which basically suffocates the engine. Or it can build up around the butterfly valve. That's the part connected to the pilot's throttle. Imagine that. Your throttle could literally get frozen in place. That is a huge, huge problem, especially when you're trying to land. Okay, so the big question is why? Why does this warm, humid air suddenly turn into ice? Well, it's not just one thing. It's actually a 1-2 punch from physics. Let's look at the two culprits at work here. First up, you've got the cooling that happens from the pressure drop. It's a basic law of physics. When the pressure of a gas goes down, its temperature goes down too. So that Venturi we just talked about, it's basically acting like a mini refrigerator. Then you've got a second cooling effect happening at the exact same time. For fuel to evaporate, to go from a liquid to a vapor, it needs energy. And where does it get that energy? It steals heat right out of the air around it. And this chart really shows you the danger zone. And look at those temperatures. We're talking from about 20 all the way up to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. So not freezing at all, actually pretty pleasant. The real kicker here is high humidity. When the air is just thick with moisture, it's basically primed and ready to turn into ice. You know, if you've ever accidentally spilled a little bit of cold fuel on your hand, you know this feeling. It feels shockingly cold as it evaporates, right? Well, that's exactly what's happening, but it's happening inside the engine. And this is the mind-blowing part. When you combine those two cooling effects, the pressure drop and the fuel evaporation, the temperature inside that carburetor can drop by as much as 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So think about that. On a perfectly nice 70-degree day, the inside of your engine can suddenly be well below freezing. That's crazy. All right, so we know the threat is real, and we know it's invisible. So how in the world is a pilot supposed to know this is even happening? Well, the warning signs are there, but they start off really subtle and they slowly build from a tiny little problem to a full-blown emergency. In the beginning, it's just a gradual loss of power, almost unnoticeable. The engine's RPMs might dip just a tiny bit. Maybe you feel a new slight vibration. You know, these are really easy clues to miss if you're not on top of your game. But while you're flying along, that ice just keeps on building, and things are about to get a whole lot worse. Because this is where it all leads. If those early warning signs are missed, that ice can build up until it completely blocks off the air and fuel. The engine is literally starved, and it can just quit. Complete engine failure. Okay, that sounds absolutely terrifying. But the good news is, pilots have a super simple but incredibly effective tool to fight back. It's kind of like a secret weapon against this invisible danger. It's called carburetor heat, or just carb heat for short. And the system is beautifully simple. All it does is grab some of the super hot air from around the engine's exhaust manifold and pipe it directly into the carburetor. Think of it like a built-in defroster for the engine. So the way you use it is also a little weird. When a pilot thinks they might have icing, they pull on the carb heat. But here's the tricky part. As that ice starts to melt, All that water gets sucked into the engine, and for a few seconds, the engine actually starts running worse. It gets rough. Now, your first instinct would be to turn the heat off, right? But you have to fight that instinct and leave it on until the engine runs smoothly again. That's how you know the ice is gone.
But of course, the best way to deal with carb ice is to not get it in the first place. So smart pilots are always thinking about the weather, especially the humidity. And during long descents, when the engine power is low, they'll make a point to either add a little power every now and then, or just turn on the carb heat for a few seconds to clear out any ice that might be thinking about forming. It's all about staying ahead of the game.
So yeah, carburetor icing is just a perfect example of all the invisible stuff that's going on when you're flying. It's a constant battle with physics that pilots are trained to fight and win. And it really makes you think, doesn't it? What other invisible forces, things like aerodynamics, weird weather patterns, what else do pilots have to master just to keep us all safe up there in the sky?